Congress elected the president would be in the thrall of factions and of mobs. So the conduct of the president and the conduct of some Congress people in abrogating powers that the framers tried to deny them has resulted in the framers' greatest nightmare.
And the remedy, then, that the framers instituted to make sure, or at least to try and prevent such mob violence, was what, Jeff?
It was filters, cooling mechanisms, intermediate bodies to prevent populist passions from ruling. They wanted to slow down deliberation so that people couldn't demand that their factional or partisan interests are created. And that was the point of the Electoral College, a group of wise men, they were all men then, who were supposed to coolly deliberate and choose the best candidates without any attention to the views of the mob or the people. Even after the election of 1800 in the 12th Amendment, the Constitution made clear that it's the Electoral College that chooses the president, and Congress's role is purely ministerial. It's just supposed to count the votes. That's why Senator Toomey was correct before Congress was forced to disband today, when he said that the Constitution gives Congress no role in making substantive determination about who won the presidency when there's no genuine dispute about which ballots a state has submitted. We are reaping what we have sown. I cannot overestimate how dangerous it is to depart from the framers' intended system, but they were visionaries. Even though they didn't know about Twitter, they did know about mobs, and they knew about demagogues who would inflame the passions of the people and try to mobilize them to thwart the rule of law on which democracy depends, and they created the Constitution to avoid that. And that is why we must return to our constitutional procedures. Congress must reconvene and perform its purely ministerial and ceremonial role in certifying the result of an election which has already occurred, and the president-elect must be recognized as the next president of the United States.
And Jeff Rosen, you have put this so beautifully and so eloquently as president of the National Constitution Center and a scholar, of course, of the Constitution. And so I wonder, because this is exactly, well, you put it a lot better than Tom Cotton did in his op-ed, but I wonder then what risk those like Ted Cruz and others who supported this effort have done to, even though they are also, quote unquote, constitutional experts, how damaging has their interpretation of what the process could be today done to our democracy?
The damage has been incalculable. The National Constitution Center is nonpartisan. It was created by Congress to increase awareness of the Constitution on a nonpartisan basis. I am only allowed to summarize the consensus of liberal and conservative scholars, ranging from Judge Michael Ludig, who Vice President Pence quoted today, to progressive scholars, that Congress is not supposed to play a substantive role in second-guessing the valid decisions of the Electoral College. Senator Cruz, Senator Hawley, former Supreme Court clerks were playing with fire when pandering to populist passions and the desire to court partisan favor. They departed from the system that the Constitution set out, and they will have to be accountable to their consciences and to the Constitution of the United States.
Jeff Rosen, stay with us. Want to bring in Grace Seegers, who has been there witnessing this on Capitol Hill. Will not say to protect her own safety, but Grace, tell us what you've been witnessing.
Hi, Nora. Yes. So it's been pretty chaotic. We are now in a safe location along with all of the senators, but things have been really scary. I will say it was pretty terrifying when the Senate suddenly went into recess and all of the doors in the chamber were locked down. The reporters were locked down in the chamber with the senators, and we really didn't know what was going on. After about half an hour of that, we were escorted from the chamber and evacuated to a safe location, and now we're kind of in a holding pattern. But I've never seen anything like this.
And Grace, talk about any violence that you saw.
So I didn't see any violence, but I heard protesters when we were evacuating. We were also told not to take the stairs because there were demonstrators on the stairs, so we took elevators, which normally would not happen in a crisis. And we are hearing from the police officers and seeing from the police officers that there still is a lot of violence. I've seen police officers walk by with riot gear. It's just unclear what the situation is right now.
Okay, want to bring in, thank you so
first.
much, Grace. Stay safe. I want to quickly bring in Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader. Leader McCarthy, do you condemn this violence?
I completely condemn the violence in the Capitol. What we're currently watching unfold is un-American. I am disappointed. I'm sad. This is not what our country should look like. This is not who we are. This is not the First Amendment. This has to stop, and this has to stop now.
Have you spoken with the president and asked him to perhaps come to the Capitol and tell the supporters it's time to leave?
I've spoken to the president. I asked him to talk to the nation to tell him to stop this. This is not who we are. We are the beacon of freedom. We show democracy how we should act. We show the rest of the world, and this is not it. I don't know who in the crowd is doing this. I know there's good and bad. This has got to stop. This is unacceptable. What the Capitol Police have had to do, what the danger that it's put other people in, the people are being hurt.
I can't believe, and I'm so glad you brought, our Capitol Police should not have to deal with this, and I know you care about them deeply. You said you spoke with the president. What did the president say he would do?
I know he had put a tweet out there. I told him he needs to talk to the nation. I told him what was happening right then. I mean, from what I watched in the Capitol, from the way you had to move within the Capitol, the rush that had to come in, the windows that were being broken. Listen, as a nation, everybody in this nation has got to take a deep breath and understand we're all Americans. We can disagree, but we do not do this. This is not who we are. This is
who do you think bears responsibility? I hate to ask you this, but who do you think bears responsibility for this, for inciting this mob?
You know what? I think there's a combination. Anyone who's ever incited, anyone who's encouraged this. We can encourage to disagree. We can be passionate about our beliefs, but this is not where we go. This is not the best. This is not the best of who we are. I'm appalled by what I'm seeing happen right now.
And you think that it was just organic, that this protest just happened on its own?
No. If you watch some of the people, if you watch some of the things I watched in this Capitol, there are people inside here that have planned. There are people taking advantage. There are people that get over emotional. There are people that want to make America look like this. All I know is the Capitol Police should not have to be doing. The number of Capitol Police we have, I can't thank them enough for protecting the number of members, the number of staffers. You know, in that building, there's a lot of young people. That is the people's house. What should have happened was the American public should be able to watch the debate, an honest, open debate, not what's going on right now.
The president invited tens of thousands of people to, quote unquote, stop the steal. I don't know if you heard his more than hour-long remarks or the remarks of his son, who was the wind-up. It was some heated stuff, Leader McCarthy. I just wonder whether someone is going to accurately call a spade a spade. And I'm giving you the opportunity right now that your precious and beloved United States Capitol and our democracy is witnessing this. Call the spade a spade.
I was very clear with the president when I called him. This has to stop, and he's got to go to the American public and tell them to stop this. This is not who we are. This is not who his supporters are. This is more than politics. This is the foundation of this nation. This is the democracy that we are supposed to be the torch for the rest of the world. This is not the view we should see, and nobody should encourage it, and nobody should be a part of it.
And so to the leaders who believe that this election was stolen and that oppose the count of the Electoral College, including yourself, why have you all run from the Capitol? Why not stay there and meet these people who believe the same way that you do? Why not meet them with courage?
I can't tell you where we are out of safety for everybody else. But the one thing I will tell you is people can have a disagreement. We disagree every day when it comes to politics. People can have that. Not this. Nobody supports this. Nobody encourages this. Nobody wants this. I want to be very clear. I condemn any of this activity. This is not anything I support. This is not anything that I would be a part of, and this has got to stop.
Why, I just wonder, are there members of the leadership headed to the White House to try and move this process forward? We're at that point, as you know, Leader McCarthy, we're at that point where this is not only something that tears down at the fabric of our democracy, but will be used by our foreign adversaries. You say you want it to stop. What are you going to do now to make it stop?
I'm meeting with the other leaders. I'm talking to the president. I want to first and foremost make sure the security of our Capitol Police and the people who are in the Capitol. Let's get this out of control. Let's get them out of the Capitol, out of the chambers. Let's make sure people are safe, and this can never happen again.
Leader McCarthy, the President of the United States has a briefing.
This is appalling. It
appears an all-hands-on-deck situation. It is an all-hands-on-deck. This is the moment that requires leadership. And if it's not presidential leadership, it's congressional leadership. And I think that the American public will hold people accountable for it. And I just am waiting to find out what that is. Where is that leadership?
Well, one thing I will tell you right now, we're sitting in the midst of this to get this under control. I will tell you first and foremost, for anything that's happening, this has got to stop, and I'm doing everything in my power to make sure it does. This will never happen again. Well, whoever created this has got to be held accountable for it. So the one thing I will tell you from the highest of offices, I went directly to make that action take place. And I will continue to make that action to take place.
Leader McCarthy, Major Garrett,
yes,
any misgivings about the objections raised and what was set in motion on the floor today that created this environment, that created this storming of the Capitol, or at least, if not created an atmosphere in which they thought it was permissible?
Well, no one should ever think this is permissible, and I don't think today started it. But when I've watched this entire nation, how we've gone time and again. I mean, I could go back a number of times, but never to this point. So who's ever been involved in that? A pox on all houses, who ever participated in any of this. This should be a moment that brings us together, that not divides us. This should be a moment where our fiber of democracy gets stronger because we're being challenged at this moment. This is where Republicans and Democrats and independents should stand together against this and never allow this to happen again.
Leader McCarthy, does the Capitol Police need to have reinforcements from the National Guard to create a stability situation to get the Capitol back under control?
From what I'm seeing right here, I am not a police officer, but I think they're doing an amazing job. But the size of this crowd, and there were barriers around. They have broken through a number of barriers, but I think for the security of others, I think help is needed.
From the National Guard?
Yes.
And what is the plan to bring Congress back into session? Do you have intentions of doing that tonight, getting back to work, or are you going to take